We've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy. Jimmy Lakey. From coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, howdy ho, neighbors. How are you, everybody? Good to have you here. We're working on the Instagram today, working on the IG. It's up and running, I think. I've had some trouble this week with the Instagram, but it looks like we got that all solved. And hello to the hipsters in your mama's basement watching the Instagram. Coming soon, we're working on the pickaxe. Going to add ourselves to the pickaxe feed. I had Jeff Dornick on the show yesterday, and we promised that we're going to be on the pickaxe real soon. So good morning. Glad to have everybody here. Jimmy is my name. Jaime Lagos is what they call me south of the border. It is a pleasure to be here. A cast of characters on the show today. Our old buddy John Gordon's going to be on here with us in just about 10 minutes. John Gordon from his own live talk show. We'll talk with John in just a bit. And also Laura Carno. It's Carno Tuesday. You don't want to miss it on this Tuesday episode, the 19th day of August, year of our Lord 2025, of Lakey Unleashed. All right, you're going to get our question of the day. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But also, when we watched the meeting with Trump and Zelinsky yesterday, and all these European leaders and European Union, NATO leaders all showed up to the White House wanting to figure out how to solve the problemo they have with Vladimir Putin. And Volodymyr Zelinsky was there, and he actually wore a blazer. He had a jacket on, and it was, if you saw the video, just about the time he got to the White House, he got out of his limo or his car, and President Trump is there in the portico to greet him, and he says, "Nice jacket. You're looking great there, buddy." And even a reporter asked him, "You look good today." And so I wonder if Zelinsky went back to Ukraine and said, "Yeah, I probably should have worn a suit the last time." I think he did. He rectified it. It looked like he still had his Lululemon clothing on under the blazer, but he did have his blazer on. And President Trump seemed to appreciate that yesterday. Fascinating to watch. Evidently, news stories are in the middle of the meeting. President Trump got up and called Vladimir Putin. He said, I'm with Volodymyr, I'm with Zelinsky. What do you say? And so that seems to be that there's even though the media tried to go bat crap crazy on Friday and say that was a failure by Donald Trump, no, it looks like he's got old Vladimir Putin on speed dial, and in the middle of the meeting called up Vladimir Putin and said, "I'm talking with Zelinsky. What do you want to say?" Okay, then he went back and forth. So it looks like more than ever before that there could be an end to this war, a ceasefire, whatever shape, form, or fashion that it comes in. Has anybody else, I know the media won't comment on this because demented Joe Poopy Pants Biden is not someone they're going to report negatively on, but I was listening to the European leaders yesterday talk as they went around a round table to have some discussion in front of the cameras. And they all said, "We're just so happy after 3.5 years, someone's finally talking to Putin." And I'm like, wait, where was demented Joe? I mean, was he snorting the coke with his son Hunter in the White House? What was Joe doing for 3.5 years that he never really bothered during the time of the war to reach out to Putin? We have really big sanctions on him. We're sanctioning him. Well, how'd those sanctions work out there, Joe? I know that Joe said, don't. He said, don't. Kamala Harris said, "Hey, you're illegals. Don't come." Joe Biden said the same thing. His foreign policy was based on a word, don't. And that's what you call walk. That is walk softly, carry a big stick. How about just don't carry a big stick and just mouth off? That's what Joe Biden did. And it didn't work out very well. So I think that's really one of the news stories. And I think it will go down in the annals of history, if we may. I think it will be one of the judging and defining moments of just proving that Joe Biden had absolutely no clue. He was incompetent. Any of you who voted for Joe should apologize to your kids. You should apologize to your grandkids. You should apologize to America. These hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have died. Young men, young women, civilians have given their lives, sacrificed, been murdered by Putin. Volodymyr Zelinsky has taken a lot of Russian soldiers. Even North Korea's kidnapping people off the streets and sending them to fight for Putin. And what was Joe Biden doing? changing his depends, arguing with Jill, snorting coke with Hunter. Joe Biden did absolutely nothing. And if you can tell me he did something to stop this war and this bloodshed, I'd love for you to tell me, but he did nothing. It may go back to he just doesn't value life. It may just go back to his inability to function. But even it shows you, and I mean this sincerely, and I say it hesitantly, but I'll say it firmly, that even if Joe Biden was not running the White House, even if Joe Biden was not in charge, which I'm not even sure he changed his own pants. We understand that about Joe Biden. Where were all these staffers and all these people that were so happy and so ready to use the auto pen to pardon Anthony Fauci and Hunter Biden or whoever they were pardoning? Hunter got a real signature. Why didn't all these clinger-oners that were using the perch of power for their own benefit, why didn't they have the heart or the humanity to say, you know what, Joe's over there propped up drooling on the floor, but we ought to, since we're acting as president, we ought to be working on this war in Ukraine. There's too many people dying. And I don't know if they were, following the Bill Gates method of we got to exterminate the population. Maybe their Lord and Savior and hero, Margaret Sanger. Maybe they were just sad all these kids that died in Ukraine and Russia didn't get aborted before they were born. I don't know, but it seems as if even though Joe Biden might have been drooling on the floor and playing with his lips a little bit, I'm thinking that maybe some of these staffers or even old Barry Hussein Obama could have picked up the phone and said, hey, Susan Rice, hey, everybody, Ron Klain, Chief of Staff, I know Joe's drooling. He just crapped himself. Put him in the other room. He's going to be stinky here soon. But please, if you would, let's solve this war in Ukraine. At least make an effort. But no call was even made to Vladimir Putin during that time. So really sad, but really evident in showing the incompetence that we have put up with for the last term of the last president and the term of Joe Biden. All right, we'll talk about that. Your observations are always welcome. As you know, we're on many, many platforms across America. We're on just on the Facebook page of Red Wave America and the Media Equalizer, potential earballs on those of about 100, 200,000. By the end of the day, by the time we go to the podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of these things, we have thousands of earballs will hear this show and or see this show by the end of the day. So let us know where you're at if you're watching us live on the YouTube or the Rumble this morning. We appreciate it. Let us know exactly where you're at. We love to hear from all of you. The usual cast of characters are checking in. I just see Arlo is representing East Texas. Dennis is coming in from Dennis is up in Oregon, if I remember, just glancing. Rich is out of Missouri on the program. Ray's out there as well. Wherever you're watching the program from, let us know. We always love to hear from you. Missouri, Texas are always well represented. Arkansas is always represented. A lot of people in Colorado as well. Anybody in the great state of Illinois with big fat J.D. Pritzker? J.D. Pritzker, like Jack Daniels, but not as fun. J.D. Pritzker. Anybody, Illinois, if you're watching from Illinois, we'd love to hear from you. And we will declare, is today Illinois State Fair Day or Illinois Day on the program? I don't know. Why is my color of my shirt so, Indianapolis. There's an Indiana. Jerry, good morning from Indianapolis to Indianapolis. We hope you're doing well there. By the way, Indianapolis is a great city. I've only been there like twice, and I liked it. It's really cool in the fact that there's covered sidewalks. Their snow doesn't melt. It's like almost a frozen tundra, but not quite. Covered sidewalks going building to buildings downtown. There's also a Rocky Patel Burn Lounge in Indianapolis. The original was in Naples, but there is one in Indianapolis as well. So, Jerry, if you're a cigar person, make sure you go there in the Rocky Patel Cigar Lounge. Rich says, do you want to admit it if you live in Illinois? Listen, that's true. That's true. So forget the Illinois thing. If you're from Illinois, keep it secret. No one wants to know that crap. Okay? You made bad choices in life. No, just kidding. That's a state left you. J.D. Pritzker. Ooh, he's a work of art. We'll talk more about him. That's on some of my show notes tomorrow. All right, I got a question of the day for you. So we're going to talk Trump Zelinsky on the program. Also, there's an interesting story of speaking of Missouri, as we were, the attorney general from Missouri has been tapped by the Department of Justice and the White House to head to the Department of Justice. And what is interesting is the Missouri attorney general is going to be co-associate director of the FBI. Now, if you know anything about who's in what position, watch this. Help me out here. Who's the assistant director of the FBI? That would be Dan Bongino. Now, I'm not trying to start a scuttlebutt or anything, but what is it about this cat from Missouri that causes you to need an assistant attorney general if they're confident that Dan Bongino is wanting to stay around? I don't know. This guy from Missouri seems to be a solid character. He was at one point discussed as being a potential attorney general for the Trump administration. Evidently, he's a very calm guy, and Trump wanted someone maybe with a little more aggressive personality. That's a word on the street. And so they've been looking at this guy from Missouri, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they decide that they're going to hire him as the assistant attorney general, the assistant director of the co-deputy of the director of FBI. And it does make you kind of wonder a little bit, is this kind of, hey, shadow Dan Bongino around. He's still mad about Pam Bondi, about the Epstein files. Shadow him around, and he's going to gracefully exit, and then you'll be the deputy director. But I just found that was interesting. Bondi says, I'm thrilled to welcome Andrew Bailey as the co-director of the FBI. He served as a distinguished state attorney general, decorated war veteran, expertise and dedication to service. Leadership commitment to the country will be tremendous as we work together to advance President Trump's mission. The FBI, as leading investigative body of the federal government under the Department of Justice, will always bring the greatest talent of the country in together. And he's a staunch Trump supporter. Andrew Bailey fought against crooked prosecutors targeting Trump with targeted Trump with lawfare. And last year he filed a lawsuit against the state of New York, accusing it of an unconstitutional attack on the democratic process through legal actions against President Donald J. Trump. So Andrew Bailey is going there, and when I heard he's going to be co-deputy director of the FBI, it caused me to ponder and consider, well, is Dan Bongino good with that? I'm guessing he is. He did post out on his Twitter yesterday with just a random one word that said welcome. And so good for him. But Missouri Attorney General heading to the to the White House, the Department of Justice. That'll be good. I've got a story out of Loudoun County, Virginia. Some boys from school have been suspended. Not because they lit a smoke bomb in the bathroom or smoking in the boys' room. No, they refused to get naked or change their clothes or share a locker room with a girl that was really a boy pretending to be a girl. We'll get to that story here in just a minute as well. And also the Department of Justice, the Secretary of State, the Department of State has revoked 6,000 student visas in America, saying that these people can't be trusted, and they've been accused of some nefarious activity, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. All right, I want to go to my guest here, John Gordon, but before I do, here's your question of the day. You've been waiting for this with bated breath. You ready? Oh, Dennis is, sorry, Jimmy, the SLV is the San Luis Valley of Southern Colorado. I thought somebody on YouTube, I only see these people out of the corner of my eye, so I'm not really reading who's saying things. It's just a little feed on my screen that just pops up, and sometimes I look at it directly, and sometimes I'm looking here and I see it. And so San Luis Valley. All right, Dennis is in Colorado. Sorry about that, Dennis. I wasn't paying that close of attention. I just see a news feed going on. It's kind of like a scroll at the bottom of your screen on the television. That's what I see from the chat room, and occasionally I have to reach over here and elevate it and make it work, but I don't see everything. All right, good to have you here. Jimmy is my name. Pleasure to be here. Question of the day. A lot of states, a lot of places out there have decided that cell phones should not be used in the classroom. A matter of fact, there's 22 states that have enacted K-12 cell phone bans so far starting this year. Now, I've talked about some of the fun things kids are doing to work around it. They want their cell phones, they're getting burner phones and all sorts of stuff. But a lot of schools are putting them in secure areas, keep them at home, keep them in your locker. Parents who protest, hey, listen, the teacher's got a cell phone, principal's got a cell phone. If you need somebody, we'll call, but they got to get the cell phones out of the classroom. And so 22 states have now enacted K-12 cell phone bans so far in 2025. And my question is simple. Do you like that? If you have a kid in school, which I have one in college now, just a year or so ago, I had one in high school. My son knew that phones were the distraction. I asked him, do you think parents should wait till 16 before a kid gets a phone? He said that'd probably be a good idea. Now, he was 17. He already passed the threshold. So I think a lot of kids do know the danger and the distraction of the cell phone, although there's just digital addiction that happens. But let me ask you, do you believe that in the public schools today and in the schools today that cell phones should be banned and kids told to keep them in the locker? I think some schools have tried to keep them out of sight, out of mind, but don't be bringing them out. And then a lot of people are saying if they see them, they're going to confiscate them, and your parents have to come pick them up. So a lot of states are doing it differently. But of all the ways that people are enacting their cell phone bans, do you support a cell phone ban in the classroom? That is your question of the day today. Scott has immediately jumped in with a very emphatic, all capital letters, oh, hell no. He doesn't think that they should ban the cell phones in the classroom. The thing is, I think what happens is I know this because on the Instagrams and the places that I'm on social media, some of those personal accounts, some of my son's friends and kids that I've known in high school announcing and coaching the high school ball, etc., I follow them. And it is amazing when you're thinking they're supposed to be in algebra or they're supposed to be in English or whatever classes they take now, probably basket weaving or whatever. It is amazing how many times throughout the stark middle of the day, they're posting memes or posting photos of their friends and things like that. And they are, in a sense, very distracting. Even my son said they could be very distracting. Now, I don't know if he'd go for a ban, but he did say kids should be older. You shouldn't get a cell phone in middle school or elementary school, at least with all the social media access. So Scott says, oh, hell no. Love for him to unravel or unpack that thought of why they should be allowed to have cell phones in the classroom. But should they be banned in the classroom? Let us know. Love to have you jump in on that conversation. All right, here we go. I want to welcome into the program our great guest, John Gordon, talk show host extraordinaire, nationally syndicated, his own Streamcast podcast as well. Mr. John Gordon, speak the truth. How are you, sir?
Great, Jimmy. Sorry that I was a little tardy this morning.
Oh, that's all right.
I would have gotten my cell phone taken away and a demerit for being late to class this morning.
I texted producer Chad, about the time we were supposed to have our pre-show meeting. I said, hey, I went too far on my walk this morning, and I didn't. The return route was a little slow, so I was delayed myself. But here we are this morning, and then we had technical difficulties. John, cell phone bans, you think those are good things in the schools?
Of course they are. You're there to learn, not social media and whatever, not watch TikTok and text your buddy or your girl across the room. Come on. It's time to get real, parents. How about some discipline? How about some rules? How about some guardrails? Protect these children. When you discipline them, they know that you love them. When you create a permissive atmosphere to be their friend, they don't feel loved. I'm a father of 3. Trust me. I think I know a little bit about this.
I'm thinking that if you want to be flirting or talking to people throughout the course of the day, you got to do it the old-fashioned way like you and I used to do. You write a note and you pass it in the hallway, or you tell your friend, hey, give this to her in the next class, and you pass notes around. That's the old-fashioned way. You can still communicate with people. You don't have to have
trouble for that too.
Yeah. Always hated it when they stole my notes and read them out loud.
Yeah, because I know that happened one day. and the note was that Mr. Wasden sucks, and he was the teacher. That didn't go over. So did
not go well.
And people wonder why they had to burn the building to get me out of high school.
Yeah, that's I get it. I'm having trauma. I feel like I need to call my therapist. Delilah, schedule the therapist today. I'm having flashbacks to high school. Schedule the therapist. All right, let's dive into a couple of topics. Number one, we have a new co-deputy director of the FBI, a guy from Andrew Wagner, I believe, from Missouri. Let me get your thoughts. I'm wondering, why do we need a co-deputy director? The guy may be a great guy. Is this some kind of a signal that Dan Bongino, who's now also a co-deputy director, he used to be the deputy director, they bring in kind of a shadow buddy for Dan Bongino? Is this a signal that maybe Bongino is still kind of upset from a few weeks ago? I may be reading too much into it. I want your take.
I'm as perplexed as you are, Jimmy. The other option is that the corruption in the deep state are so overwhelming that they need help and that the caseload is too great. That would be my knee-jerk reaction. I think Bongino is upset about the way that the Epstein files were handled. I think it was a departure from what we had been told would happen. And I think that's what Bongino was mad about. And I don't blame him. I'm mad about it too. But look, sometimes you got to take the bad with the good. And I think Bongino is tough. And I think he's in there for the long haul. I hope so, although I don't know. So I'm going to go with answer B, that the caseload is so great that he needs some help and somebody with authority like himself that can go in and kick ass and take names. That's what I'm hoping is. The option, the other interpretation could be that Bongino is going to leave and that this guy is going to be his replacement. I don't know. I hope that's not the case.
Supposedly, this guy had been on the short list to be even the attorney general. So he's been on Trump's radar screen for a long time, has a great record in Missouri, according to the Trump universe. And so maybe, just maybe, they do need another set of eyes on cases, because it looks like they got a grand jury employed now. They're really looking at some of this Russiagate stuff. Anything going to come about John Gordon? Are we finally going to reveal some of these deep state characters that are out there?
I think so. If I had to bet, I would say yes. I don't think they're going to touch Obama. Clinton, if you noticed this week, said, she would nominate Trump if he could bring peace in the Ukraine and Russia. That was a pretty bold statement. And what did Trump say in response to that? Maybe I'll change the way I look at Hillary Clinton after having said that. So, I think that maybe I interpreted that as an indication that she's running scared and that she doesn't want Trump to come after her. I don't know. But I think that the first one to do the perp walk will be James Comey. I don't know anybody in America that likes him. I think even Taylor Swift is called security now after he made his little TikTok video yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, creepy.
It was so strange. This guy is really off the rails. If we didn't believe it already, his ego is so large that he is devoid of reality. And the things that he has done, starting with Russia, and 87-40 or 86-47. I mean, this is someone who's really troubled. And I think we should have a wellness check up on him. Brennan and Clapper are no favorites of many people either. I think they will come up with a story that the Steele dossier. Well, they've already come up with the story that the Steele dossier was really not the predicate for them launching the investigation. That there were other things that we knew that you don't know that they'll probably try and drag out. So it's not really a slam dunk. It's just so darn hard to get people in government held accountable. But let's stay optimistic. The other interpretation for the guy that's coming into the FBI, maybe he's going to be on the short list for AG. Maybe it's Pam Bondi who's on her way out. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But there's so many moving pieces. One thing is for sure. The American people are demanding accountability, and they are demanding answers. And I'm at the front of the line. I want to know. I don't care about the Epstein list. I want to know about the people who orchestrated it. My suspicions is that it leads straight back to the CIA. I demand to know that. Yeah. I want to know about Building 7 in the 9/11 saddest day in America's history that fell down at 6 p.m. inexplicably, and every architect and engineer that has looked at it has called it a controlled demolition. I want to know what is behind that. I want to know who orchestrated Butler, and I want to know where Maxwell Urich is. I would like the people that that successfully assassinated the 35th president of the United States, tried and held accountable in memoriam, rip LBJ's name off the freeway, rip Hoover's name off the FBI building. These were bad people that committed murder.
Yeah.
And committed and participated in an assassination, and take the Dulles name off of the Washington airport. He was one of the architects and orchestrated it. I mean, it's time to get real. We need a cleansing in America. We need a spotlight on all these dastardly deeds that undermine the fabric of America and everything that we stand for. It has deprived us the moral authority to lead.
It's been underreported, but I'm sure you know, because you're a well-studied man, that Clapper and Brennan specifically, they were also behind the architecture behind that weapons of mass destruction claim of false security that that George W. Bush sent us into war for, and it ended up in a 20-year war.
There's no question.
Created the narrative of weapons of mass destruction.
There's no question. And there's not one person that will defend the war in Iraq today. Yep. No one thinks that the predicate that we now know was false. It even justified the invasion in the 12-year war. And, my sense is that it was these people crave war. They crave it. They're warmongers. They sit up there in their little Ivory League towers in the Defense Department and the State Department, and they play their war games, and they're just and all those people that go to work at the Pentagon every day, all they do is plan for war. Well, I'm glad we have a strong national defense. And I'm glad that we have the resolve to stand up against evil, like I think that we have done in the Ukraine. I don't think that we should have gone to war in the Ukraine, but I think that we should be there as a countervailing power to Russia, who wants to move on Europe. And somebody's got to draw a line in the sand and stand up to them. Nobody's better than that than the United States and the EU, by the way, whose population and GDP roughly is equivalent to the United States, but they don't spend a fraction of what we do on defense. So they need to, and I think they are going to increase their spending and do their part more now. But the warmongers have got to be put in their place. And Iraq should have never, ever happened. And it's just embarrassing. And if I was George Bush, I couldn't show my face. And why Dick Cheney thinks he has any platform to speak on anything is a puzzle of bewilderment to me.
Yeah, at the very least, W ought to come out there and say, "What, they lied to me?" If he didn't know,
he should.
Yeah, he should.
I would, if he did that, I would forgive him.
Yeah. Political analyst and host of the nationally syndicated show, The Truth with John Gordon, is with me here. If you're listening to the audio version, I want to reset that because you're watching it, you see it on the screen. If you're just listening later on the podcast version, you're saying, who's that guy talking? He sounds really smart. It's John Gordon, The Truth with John Gordon. John, one more quick question for you. Trump is vowing to get rid of mail-in ballots before the 2026
Did
midterm.
You see that?
Yeah, he says he's going to sign an executive order. I love it, but the state's got to jump in here and help him out.
Well, there's going to be hell to pay if they don't. And I think Russia is the first shoe to drop. I think the 2020 election is going to be the second shoe to drop. I think he's laying the groundwork for it right now. If you play ball and you fall in line, there probably is not going to be a consequence. Philosophically, when I look back over the last 5 years, I think that God is in charge. I think that God is directing all of this. And if I had been in charge, I would not have allowed 2020 to have gone down the way that it did. But I give it all up to our God and Savior. And I think that he had a plan. And boy, did he know what he was doing, because the Democrats have played right into the hand, and they are being exposed for the evil, demonic people that they are. And I think that Trump is saying, look, we'll move on. You want to move on? I'll move on. But brother, if you push back on this, I'm going to show it all. I'm going to show it all. I'm going to expose Brad Raffensperger and the stolen election in Georgia, and then we'll move on to Arizona and Pennsylvania, and we may stop in Minneapolis and Minnesota along the way. It was rigged. It was stolen. Anybody with a brain who cares to spend the time to look even a little bit cannot escape that conclusion. But I don't think that there is an appetite to get into the weeds on it. but I do think there's an appetite for fair, free elections, and I think that's where Trump is headed.
You know, I live in the state of Colorado, and we were a purple state at best. I mean, we had a little flash of red. Bill Owens was our last Republican. We had even up until 8 years ago, we had some statewide Republican officers that were elected. But I do notice, and again, I don't have the time to get in the weeds for it nor the ability, but it's interesting that once we started doing mandatory all mail-in ballots, everybody in the state gets mailed a ballot. There's no polling places per se like the old days. Every elementary school in their precinct. It's just you can go poll, but there's centralized locations. If they want you to mail your ballot in, ever since we started the all mail-in ballots, all of a sudden we don't have we don't have any statewide elected Republicans. You know, I'm just saying, did they go hand in hand? Perhaps so. It seems as if it gives you ability to cheat because everybody in the state of Colorado, and I'm sure other states, it shows up in your mailbox. And if you've moved on, if it gets stuck in the apartment complex and the junk mail, whatever, one ballot, everybody gets a ballot. That's
it's worse than that, Jimmy, because if you recall, you were allowed to deposit those ballots into a drop box where there was no supervision. Yep. And 2000 Mules proved that they had video of people stuffing boxes with 35 and 50 ballots. And then there were the cell phone breadcrumbs that showed certain bad actors showing up at the same drop box multiple times, or different drop boxes multiple times. It was a horrible low point to me in our nation's democracy. But you know, Trump is so smart. I mean, my instinct is just to go fight him, just meet him in the middle of the street and have a good old fashioned fist fight and solve it. But Trump is so much smarter than I am. He's not going through them. He's going around them. And if you notice also in the executive order, we're doing away with the voting computers. Not only are we going back to paper ballots, but obviously implicit in that, we're getting rid of the machines. To hell with that. He is just brilliant. If he can pull this off, I literally think he has saved our country.
John Gordon, host of the syndicated radio show, The Truth with John Gordon, graduate of Mercer University Law School in Georgia, business owner, entrepreneur, also worked as a journalist and reporter in Macomb and in Atlanta, ran as a Republican candidate for the Georgia's Attorney General in 2022, was endorsed by Donald Trump. And again, the name of his national radio show is called The Truth with John Gordon. John, if somebody wants to follow you, listen to you, where do they go?
Well, you can go to johngordon.tv. All of our past episodes are there. You can find us on all the social media every Saturday from noon to 2 and Sunday from noon to 2 as well. X, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're there. And we'd welcome you to come. And if you want to write me, if you want to tell me you think I'm full of it, you can do that at johngordontruth@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. I read every email and I will answer you too. Promise.
johngordontruth@gmail.com. or johngordon.tv, the johngordon.tv. John, appreciate you hopping on the program this morning.
It's always a pleasure, Jimmy. Thank you.
I appreciate you, my friend. johngordon.tv. Make sure you check it out and listen to the shows. All right, ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you here. Running a couple of seconds behind the schedule this morning, but that's because we've been very, very busy. Reset the table. The question of the day today is, do you believe that these 20-something states are correct in banning cell phones in the classroom? What say you? Do you agree that cell phones should be banned in the classroom? I tend to agree with John Gordon. Looks like Scott. Now, Scott says his explanation, distractions, cheating, preventing learning. So when he said, oh, hell no, I thought he was saying, oh, hell no to banning them. But I think he was saying actually with more clarity now that he's defined himself, that he was saying, oh, hell no, you should not have cell phones in the classroom. What say you? A lot of states, even conservative states, have said, no, parents, you got to keep your kid's cell phone at home. It's not going to happen. Now, there is one flip side of this. I'll get Laura Carno's take on this as well. One of the flip sides of this thing is, remember what happened with COVID when all the kids were in front of their electronic devices, learning on their iPads or computers or what have you? The speakers were on, and as the speakers were on, parents were listening going, what the hell are they teaching my kid? and it exposed a lot of the woke agenda and the progressive agenda in the public school system. One, I guess, benefit would be if kids were actually using those cell phones as a way to monitor and or police their teachers if they're getting propagandized or threatened or bullied from a socialist. They could film it. But usually what I see the kids posting on social media during the school hours is not stuff about the lecture that they're hearing. It's more stuff about what they're eating for lunch or who the boyfriend or girlfriend is. So the question of the day, comment on all the platforms. We'd love to hear from you. Should schools allow kids to have cell phones in class? What say you? That is your question of the day. All right, Laura Carno is in the green room. I think she just finished her final powdered donut or chocolate donut. I don't know. Laura Carno, there she is. She's back in the green room. Laura Carno, good morning. How's the green room?
I can't eat powdered donuts at my advanced age. I don't burn the calories.
Oh, and it looks like you've been snorting Coke whenever you're done with them.
I know, right?
You got it all over your nose and
remember the chocolate ones, the chocolate mini donuts?
Yeah, I love those. That's actually my favorite. That is a weakness about.
But they leave that like waxy film on your teeth. That kind of.
Oh. If I'm ever on a road trip, and I don't do road trips, I prefer to fly. I haven't taken a road trip in forever, but it's a temptation for me to get the little tube of 6 donuts. Oh, the chocolate ones. That is a temptation for me. It's like if temptation food for me would be that and a Taco Bell bean burrito. Those are the 2 things that they could be my kryptonite.
You know what's good for a road trip? I prefer salty to sweet, generally speaking.
Me too.
A tube of Pringles, a big tube of nice salty Pringles. They're not greasy on your hands, so you're not going to get it all over the steering wheel, and they stay nice and compact, and a little salt so that you retain water and don't have to stop to go to the bathroom very often.
Now, let me ask you, you got to confess here in the front of all of us, Laura Carno, a woman of your esteem and class, and you drink with the water with your pinky in the air, all this. Do you ever make the duck bill with the 2 Pringles together and duck mouth with the Pringles?
I don't know if I was ever cool enough to do that.
Oh, I didn't know if you did it now. If so, I'm going to send you some Pringles for next week's show. That's what I was checking. That's what I was checking on. All right, we got a question of the day. Laura Carno is floating around there. Should kids be banned from having their cell phones in the classroom? 20-something states have said, starting this year, they're not letting it happen. What say you?
Yeah, I'll say 2 things. One is they're a complete distraction, but also a safety mechanism. So I'm in favor of them keeping their phones, but it's got to be in their backpack. They can't come out during class. So it's their property. They keep it, but it's not out during instruction time. But the other thing is, if you hate cell phones in the class, if you like cell phones in the class, that's what school choice is about. Districts or charter schools should be doing what the parents think is best. And so schools should be asking parents what they want. And I know in my local school district here, that's been a very big source of discussion, because some parents say, I want my kid to be able to access me anytime they need to, and other parents saying, take them away bell to bell. So schools should absolutely be asking parents.
I did, when my son was still in high school, I did probably tend to, and I didn't need to, goofy things like, hey, just checking, are you home for dinner tonight or do you work? I could have waited till after algebra, but I wanted to know because I had to make plans for what we're going to have for dinner. And, but yeah, that's a convenience for me, but probably I was distracting to him as a parent. And I'm thinking there's probably a lot of parents that their kids might have their cell phone around, but mama is a helicopter mama. She's like, how's it going? How's your friends? And because I would sometimes send casual conversation to my kid, usually about food, dinner, and when he's coming home during classroom. And I can imagine other parents also were part of the problem as well. It's not just them tweeting on social media. It's helicopter parents that can't leave their kids alone.
Yeah, I think that's very probable, given some stories that I've heard about how often parents are butting into their children's business at school and getting involved in what friends of their child are saying to which other friends and stuff like that. It's like, that says that mom and dad need more hobbies.
Yeah. Mom and dad need to get rid of their cell phones probably as well. Laura Carno's my guest. If you listen to the podcast version of the show later in the day, you don't see her name on the screen. So Laura Carno, we'll talk about Faster Colorado here in just a moment. Laura, I have this story on my sheet. It's on your sheet as well. The State Department has come in and said, hey, 6,000 student visas revoked. You're out of here. Give me your thoughts. Tell the story.
Yeah, let's think about the context of everything that happens every day in this administration. The really big things like what's happening with Russia and Ukraine and big global issues that Trump is having a significant impact. Those are huge, worthy of frontline or top line headlines. But there's so many things going on that just aren't hitting the news. And this was one of them. It hit the news, but obviously a very small story. But it's still what we're here for, and why many of us voted for him. 6,000 student visas have been revoked. And the reason that they have been revoked range from the person committed a sexual assault or some other major crime. They are on campus supporting terrorism, things like that. 6,000 of these are gone. And, consider if somebody's applying for a student visa and they have, violent crime in their past, or they are known terrorist supporters, they don't get their visa. What's happening is those same criteria are being applied to people who are here on student visas, and they are being dealt with. This is what it means to protect your citizens of your country and keep your people safe. And I'm really glad to see some of these things. I called it a relatively small thing, smaller than Russia, Ukraine, but still very important.
I don't know if you saw, you probably saw this news video yesterday that California had an illegal that in the first Trump administration was denied a work permit, a visa, told to get the hell out of the country. He was granted that under Joe Biden. And then because he got that in California, he was granted a commercial driver's license, driving a semi truck in Florida. Made an illegal U-turn, killed a family of three that drove right under his trailer. And you kind of shake your head and say, what the heck are we thinking? Letting people like this inside our country on a student visa or approving them to get a commercial driver's license. At some point, we have to wake up, and it's just bizarre that anybody could defend these people staying in the country, keeping their visa, or giving that illegal that killed people in Florida, giving him a commercial driver's license. What the heck are we thinking here?
Yeah, and most of us are descendants of immigrants, whether it's one generation or 10 generations, and we want immigrants here who want to be Americans and want to pursue their happiness, want to pursue liberty, all of those things. Those are the immigrants we want, and we should have a process that is easy for people from other countries to say, I don't want anything from the United States. I don't want to be on the dole. I want to come be an entrepreneur or whatever. We want those people. But for God's sake, can't we all agree that the criminals, we don't want criminals here? Yeah. And this seems to be very easy, but in a day and age where we have liberals seemingly fighting for more crime in DC, by being opposed to what Donald Trump is doing to reduce crime, I don't know where their heads are, Jimmy.
Yeah, I don't either. Don't either, my friends. But somebody elected him, and I didn't. Laura Carno is my guest this morning. Laura, one more topic for you. There's a story that those of us in Colorado are paying attention to. We may have time for two more stories here. But the city of Denver has decided that they're out of money, and they're out of money because Donald Trump and the big, beautiful bill said, hey, we're not going to be taking the money from West Virginia, Illinois, and doling it out to other states. Colorado, you're not going to get some of the funding you used to get. And Colorado says, oh my God, the city of Denver says the same thing. There's a special session in the state of Colorado. The city of Denver's having layoffs. I think it's kind of funny.
Well, here's my big question to any of that, whether it's Denver or Colorado or any of the other states. Where have your priorities been? Were you burning through the largesse of COVID money that came from the federal government, parentheses, our pockets still? What did you do with all of that? I mean, here in Colorado, we've got all kinds of things that are not necessary. We've got enhanced bike lanes in places where there are no bikes. Denver has bike lanes that start and stop within a few blocks, maybe 10, 15 blocks, and you go, so if you're saying these are safe, they only get to be safe for that long a period of time, whatever. They have blown their money. Denver in particular blew its money on what it referred to as the newcomers, all of the folks that were crossing the southern border, blew hundreds of millions of dollars. And now there's no money for Denverites. So they've had to do some layoffs. Jimmy, my husband and I both came from the banking industry during a lot of that consolidation era. And between us, we have been laid off 13 times in our banking careers. And I don't remember, this is kind of like with the Doge stuff too, when they were like hair on fire because federal employees were being laid off. I don't remember every time, one of us got laid off, big stories about how horrible and sad it was. No, it was just, okay, consolidation of the industry, move on, go find another job. It's tough if it's your first layoff ever. It is really tough because you don't know how to navigate it. But they've got some severance, they've got some continued medical benefits. They've got a professional LinkedIn paid for. They've got some stuff that is helping them, very similar to what happens in the private sector. And so it doesn't need to be 24/7 on our local news coverage, I guess is what I'm saying.
Again, the voice of Laura Carno. We'll talk about our website here in just a moment. Fastercolorado.org, what they do, and you should throw a few bones their way, a couple of bucks their way. Fastercolorado.org. Laura, the hair on fire. I can't help but think of the redistricting, the ICE patrols. I mean, every topic has been a hair on fire episode from the American left as Donald Trump promotes his agenda. And one of the big hair on fire was that big, beautiful bill. We were told the sky was going to fall and the world would collapse immediately if we passed the Big Beautiful Bill. Big Beautiful Bill has been in action. Turns out the bloat and the fat of some states are having to call special sessions because they were living off the federal teat, not within their own means. But also taxpayers are going to be getting a tax cut. Again, hair on fire, the Big Beautiful Bill. Nobody talks about it anymore, but it's still out there lingering with some perhaps good consequence for all of us.
Yeah, and it's different between different states depending on who was giving and who was getting from the federal largesse. But the average is $3,752. So it's not, and think of some of like how Doge cuts have chipped in a couple of bucks here and there too. But $3,700 for a family is actual real money. This isn't, okay, I just saved, $10 and I can finally afford that pack of gum I've been saving up for or something. This is real significant money for families, and for anybody saying that, this is, like you said, hair on fire and everything's terrible. This is real financial relief for real families. And if $3,700 a year doesn't sound like a lot to you, then you need to broaden your circle of friends so that you understand what normal humans are going through.
Yeah. Laura Carno, fastercolorado.org. Laura, back to the topic of we were talking about the illegals and why we're giving them a driver's license. Dennis posted up there. He says, Jimmy, I'm an owner-operator in the chat room. He's on YouTube watching this morning. He said, you'd be stunned by the amount of foreign drivers out on our roads who cannot speak English and are causing accidents. Very dangerous and poorly trained, and yet Colorado joins California as one of those states that, hey, you're here illegally, you broke the law, we'll give you a driver's license, and oops, maybe you got registered to vote. That happened here too.
Yeah, and remember in Colorado there was that guy, a trucker that caused that huge fiery crash on I-70 that killed a family, and Jared Polis commuted his sentence. He was given a sentence of like 100 years or something like that, like life in prison without parole, essentially. And Jared Polis commuted the sentence, and it was after there was some fancy music star, Beyonce type. I can't keep all the music stars straight because I'm not very cool. But somebody like that appealed to Jared Polis to let this guy off, and I'm not sure how this guy qualified, but yeah, all of a sudden his sentence has been commuted, and meanwhile, somebody's family members died in a horrible fiery crash at the hands of an illegal alien driver.
It's not just commercial drivers for big trucks. I am a frequent Uber user, especially as much as I travel, go to the airport. And I've had more times than recently. If you ever get Uber or Lyft, I forget which one, I go between them. They'll oftentimes say the driver could be hard of hearing. You need to. Linda says Kim Kardashian.
Thank you, Linda.
See,
I'm not. Thank you, Linda. I am so not cool.
Yeah, she's not a singer either, Kim Kardashian. I think I think she just has boobies. That's all I think she's famous for those.
That's fair. I think they both do.
Well, I'm saying one is known for her voice and the other's just known for
Got it. But again, not cool enough to know the difference between any of them.
Yeah, so. I can explain the difference between the boobs if you want me to. I can chart A, chart B.
Incorrigible. Incorrigible.
All right, so back to my Uber and Lyft story.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll get it said their driver's hard of hearing, and they'll give you a little tutorial and say, click here if you'd like to learn how to do sign language. Now, what I've determined, anybody I get that notification on, none of them seem to be hard of hearing. I think they got clicked because they are, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing hand signals and they're screaming at me. So that's kind of funny. But I've had several in the last several months. I get in the car and I say, it's Jimmy. I say, yes. And Jose, whatever. I call their name and I say, how's your day going? And they look at me and go, habla español? And they don't speak English. And one time it was so bad, there was a road near me blocked off for construction, blocked off for 3 months as they're rechanging it, headed down it. I said, he's going to follow the detour sign. The guy couldn't read the detour sign. He blew past the detour sign. I'm on my phone asking Siri how to say, stop it, damn it, which I figured out also was the thing. And I actually had to send in a complaint and said, this guy shouldn't be driving. He can't read English or speak English.
Read the signs.
And you imagine that in a big semi-truck driving down a hill and don't know how to brake. It's some scary stuff that we're giving these illegals and people that don't speak the language, giving them driver's license. Somebody's going to get killed and people are getting killed.
Yeah. And on the other hand, I have met some wonderful immigrant Uber drivers who are so happy to be here and be Americans and find a job like Uber where they can do it in between, helping their kids with their homework, and they've got a couple of hours to do Uber, and they just think America is the most wonderful place in the world. And those are always just such lovely experiences.
Laura Carno, fastercolorado.org. Tell the work of Faster and when they donate a couple of bucks to you, what does it do?
Yeah. So we're nearing the end of our 9th training year, getting armed staff all trained up. We actually this past weekend had a training class for people who've been with us between 5 and 8 years and have been carrying on campus. And man, these are some highly skilled folks. It was a really fun time to see how much they've learned over the last number of years. And we're also coming up on our 50th class already, if you can believe that, this fall. And so if folks want to help us out, we're only in about 42 of Colorado's 178 school districts. We would love to have the bandwidth to get out to more schools and be proactive in talking to folks about why they should either have any armed staff at all or supplement their school resource officers with other armed staff. We'd love to tell them that story and let them know how they can get started on that.
fastercolorado.org. Make a donation, fastercolorado.org. And Laura, I'd like to remind the audience, even though you say I'm incorrigible,
incorrigible.
I would like people to know I'm also adorable. Therefore, I am the adorable incorrigible.
Yeah. And whenever you can find something that rhymes with incorrigible, you should use it.
I found it. That's the only word. That's the only word. All right, Laura Carno, it's a pleasure. fastercolorado.org. fastercolorado.org. Check it out and make a donation to Laura Carno's great work keeping school kids safe in Colorado. Again, fastercolorado.org. All right, good to have you here on the program. Jimmy is my name. Getting ready for the meme roulette, but before we do the stolen meme section of the show, I want to remind you about Sherry Cree. First of all, If you're going to play in the golf tournament with us Friday, September the 5th, Sherry will be there. She's got a foursome already ready to go. I think she's got some more friends coming in real soon. Homeswithsherry.com. Listen, if you're in that I-25 corridor in the state of Colorado, maybe it's this Denver proper, or maybe it's Broomfield, maybe it's Boulder, maybe you're Fort Collins way, maybe you're in Loveland, maybe you're in Aurora, wanting to move away from the neighborhoods with Tren de Aragua, maybe you're in Parker. You get the idea. Anywhere that I-25 corridor, you got to call Sherry. Sherry approaches real estate, not just with a different perspective or paradigm, but she does it with a different heart. She, first of all, as soon as she knows is when you get to the end of the run with her and all the contracts are signed and you've bought or sold the home, she'll take a portion of her proceeds from that, her portion out of her pocket, and she'll donate it to the charity of your choice. Again, different mindset of a giver and somebody that really wants to make a difference in a meaningful way on the planet and even help you with whatever project you're on, a church, a charity, whatever. She'll donate to that. She also takes a discount on her commission if you're a first responder, a veteran, active duty military. She discounts because she, again, wants you to understand the beauty of home ownership. She wants you to understand how real estate can help you build generational wealth. Now, some people, none of us really ever call a realtor like, okay, I want to have the sign in the yard tomorrow. There's a process. There's some questions to answer. There's some interviews to be had. There's some conversation on pricing. There's a room tour and say, you know what you might do is do this in this room. And there's some staging that goes on. She can help you with all that. And maybe you're not ready to sell till 2026. Maybe you're going to get through the fall and you don't want to have the holidays, but you're going to be ready to go. Listen, whether you're ready to run now or whether you're just kind of talking about down the future for your strategy, homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. You won't find a better partner at the table to build that strategy of real estate. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, just a wonderful person. I recommend her to you, proud sponsor of this show. Homeswithsherry.com. Reach out to her again. Have a conversation. And even if she's had people that disappeared for a year or so and then called her back, said, we're ready. And she goes, oh, I thought you went with another realtor. And no, we just took your advice and we waited a while. So put that strategy together. She can talk with you about the strategy of the market, specific neighborhood by neighborhood, city by city, zone by zone, and also kind of predictors what they're saying about the market will change when it comes to what will change in the market once it comes to the interest rates coming down. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Are you ready? It's time for the stolen memes section of the show. And if you want to play along, just kind of say it with me. Ready? Here we go. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Stolen meme number one. There we go. Name something that triggers the left. Family Feud style. Donald Trump. That should be number one probably. The Constitution. Secure elections. National anthem. Rule of law. American flag. Personal responsibility. And science. You know what? There's not one of those that's untrue. All of those trigger the left. Science. Now, they believe in Dr. Fauci because he's science, but he was not science. He was not science. He's a fraud. That's true. If you're leftists out there, the truth hurts. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Nancy Pelosi on the Babylon Bee cover says, Dems say mail-in ballot ban will place undue hardship on dead voters. We got to take this to court. Donald Trump can't ban the mail-in ballots. What about all the dead people trying to vote? How are they going to get to the ballot box if they can't vote? That's true. Nancy's got a point there. She could probably find a judge to back her up and support that. Here we go. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There's Donald Trump outside of a window skydiving, making a liberal go crazy on the aircraft. 3.5 more years, and there's the liberal scream. Bat crap crazy Subaru driver, I'm assuming. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There's Volodymyr Zelinsky. Whoever wrote it spelled remember wrong, but maybe it's broken English. Remember when I'd come to the U.S. and remind the president of all the dirt I had on his son and leave with a bundle of money. Yeah, I miss those days. Anybody remember that? Old Joe Biden. Joe, I got dirt on your son. He did bad things in Burisma and Ukraine, and you want me to release some more naked photos of him snorting crack or shooting crack or whatever. You don't know what you do with crack. No, let me give you some more money. At least with Donald Trump, they've said this is a loan. You're not getting this money for free. Joe Biden wasn't smart enough to do that. Ready? Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. The Vikings have added a third male cheerleader to their cheer roster. It's Tampon Tim. Hey, the Minnesota Vikings. I wonder if they put tampons in their locker room there for their players with their little flamboyant jazz hands male cheerleader. You know, all the respect for the male cheerleaders that throw the girls and twist the girls. But if you're doing jazz hands, if you're a boy cheerleader and never touch a pom-pom, if you're a boy cheerleader and participate in the dance and you're ever doing open hands, you're wrong. You just shouldn't do that. I mean, there's moves a fella can make as a male cheerleader that are very masculine. But if you're doing that other stuff, you're wearing panties and probably, Tampon Tim. All right, here we go. Round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Breaking news: there's been whispers this could be the Democrats' election ticket in 2028. Anthony Weiner and Mr. Eric Holder. It would be Weiner Holder 2028. It could be actually a winner for the Democrats. Could be an actual winner for the Democrats. Yeah, could be. And there's not. It's amazing that we're talking about a Weiner Holder ballot. There's no Clinton involved. Well, that's true too. Round around the globe we go, or Jared Polis. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, we have milked the meme machine dry, and that means that it's time for us to step aside and walk away. Scott says, love my Tuesday mornings with the beautiful Laura Carno. I know everybody wants to kiss up to Carno. It happens every week. The kiss up crowd shows up and tries to kiss up to Carno. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Why does everybody kiss up to me? We talk about the colors of my shirt. We make jokes about Carno shows up. Oh, I just love Laura Carno. They do that. They do Doug Giles as well. Oh, Jay Ratliff. Yeah, he's got groupies out there. It's crazy. They just they kiss up to these people. Oh, Jimmy, why is Doug Giles not on today? Jimmy, where's Jay Ratliff? I miss Jay Ratliff so much. Laura Carno, she's our hero. Lakey, what am I? Chopped liver? I don't know. All right, enough of my opining and complaining because no one cares. That's okay. Producer Chad cares. Arloa says, we love you too, Jimmy. Arloa, that's that's a little late, don't you think, Arloa? You should have come in earlier with that. Now it feels contrived. It feels less sincere, but I'll take it. I'll take it right here. By the way, what color shirt is this? All right, we got to go. Don't forget, the golf tournament's coming up Friday, September the 5th, just about 3 weeks away. And I want you to be there. If you don't play golf, I want you to still be a part of it. It's our largest fundraiser of the year for Rivers Promise. It's at the Colorado National Golf Club in Erie. There's still time to fly in. It's not far from the airport, not far from Denver, not far from Boulder, not far from Fort Collins. If you're coming up from Colorado Springs, as long as you take the loop around what we call the 470, it's a quicker drive that time of day. But it's Friday, September 5th. I'd love to have you there. Matter of fact, I'm expecting to have you there. And if you're not going to be there, I'd like a written note as to why. You don't have to be a golfer. You don't have to play Tiger Woods style. Shoot, you may even suck at putt-putt golf. It's okay in this tournament. It's all about the fun. Matter of fact, I was reviewing the rule sheet last night. Yeah, there's the rule sheet right there. I had to review it. Make sure the rules are in order. We had a rules committee meeting yesterday. Yeah, the rules just say don't suck. And the rules say the one who spends the most money wins the tournament. It's all about charity. It's all about the kids. All right, tomorrow I got this Volkswagen story. I got to do that. Taylor Swift story. I got a couple of other stories, but I'm out of time today. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. May God bless you. May God bless America. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here. Go download the podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean. Go like it. Share it. Love you. I'm out.